Islam family. Gratitude for the Sister Zenobia's powerful demonstration on the importance of recognizing who we are, that we are angels. And if I may add on, when we go on to our Quran questions, which will go into my demonstration, when we go to Key 61, it says, what are the modern name for those angels? Asiatics. Key 62 says, what is the shade of their skin? And then Key 63 goes on by saying, are the Moorish Americans any relations to those angels?
Yes.
Islam. So today, I want to talk about the importance of the A Holy Covenant of the Asiatic race. And I'm not going to go into chapter 25, which covers that description. I want to come from a different angle, because we as Moorish Americans, we have to remember that we are friends and servants of humanity. All right? Therefore, it's very important that we exercise our humility when we engage with our brothers and sisters, when we teach our people their nationality and their divine creed, Islam. We do not want to address them in the manner as if the direction that they're taking is all lost, if you will. We do not want to approach them if they still call themselves or want to consider themselves black or African American or so on and so forth. We are not in the business of shunning our people for that mindset. You know, per our laws, we have to teach our people their nationality and their divine creed. So in the manner of us teaching them, they will learn, and if anything, they will have an understanding and another perception of what it means to have a nationality, as the sister said. The thing is that we do have a nationality, but the key is how are we to manifest the concept of the nationality to this plane of manifest. Because see, our prophet talks about our nationality and what it means to have a nationality. And the nationality being that quality of character which arises from a person belonging to a nation or state. You know, so when we talk about that nation or state, that nation or that state is Moorish American. All right, this is the flag of our descent. This is the flag of our nation. Therefore, we have just as much as right being on these shores as anyone else, Islam. But the key is to add on to what the Sister Zenobia is saying is that we perpetuate that. How do we propagate that faith? How do we continue to build that knowledge? How do we continue to teach those things that make us better citizens, Islam? And the answer, one of the many answers to that is to extend your hand. We have on your Moorish American nationality and membership card, you know, we have the hand press. That's right. That demonstration of unity. But we also have that as a demonstration of helping those that are in need, extending the hand. And on the back of our Quran questions, it says to extend the learning of the Prophet of Allah in America. So, you know, to talk about how we are to extend the learning, we need look no further or to think no further than extending our hand to help those in need. Islam? So, we're going to go to chapter 9 in our Moorish Holy Quran. And I'm actually going to not breeze through it, but I'm going to read through it, and I'm going to hit certain topics that are relative to the discussion. And again, so we as Moorish Americans, or we as anyone that is in this conscious community, in this electrified age, that we're all enlightened. We're in the age of Aquarius, so everybody knows something, if not everything. Islam, and if we don't know anything, or we don't know a particular thing, we don't have to reach any further than our pocket computers or our mobile phones, and we can find that out. Islam? So, you know, even with that being said, we always have to approach or engage each other with an empty cup. We don't want to engage with our brothers or our sisters with a cup that is full, because we all know if you come with that persona that your cup is full and somebody tries to pour into what you're doing, you're going to overflow and the knowledge is not going to get there. Islam? So, chapter 9. Jesus attends a feast in Bihar, and here he teaches, or he's taught, human equality. Islam? The fame of Jesus as a teacher spread through all the land, and people came from near and far to hear his words of truth. At Bihar, on the sacred river of the Brahms, he taught for many days. And Ak, a wealthy man of Bihar, made a feast in honor of his guest, and he invited everyone to come. And many came, among them thieves, extortioners, and courtesans. And Jesus sat with them and taught, but they who followed him were much aggrieved, because he sat with the thieves and courtesans. And I'm going to stop right there, because there's a couple of key words that I want us to write down or to put in your memory. The first one is Bihar. And Bihar is a city in India. It's one of the major cities in India, and is now considered, unfortunately, one of the poorest cities in India. But then in verse 2, it says, at Bihar, they're near a sacred river of the Brahms. What is that sacred river? The sacred river is called the Bagmati River. And in that river, let me write this down. The Bagmati River is in Bihar. And the interesting thing, or what makes it sacred, is this is the river in which, when the Indians or the Hindus, when they veil the form, they dip the bodies, or the shells, if you will, in there before they are cremated. And the reason that they dip the bodies in this particular river, in this sacred river, is because of course, it purifies them and it initiates them to come back in the sacred life. And not only is it a tradition with the Brahmins or the Hindus, but it's also a tradition in certain factions of Buddhism. That's the word I'm looking for. So what I want us to do as Moorish Americans, just a short sidebar with us studying, going into Sunday school, is that anytime that we hear or that we see that Jesus teaches in a certain part of India or in Egypt, there's a particular degree within that. So when we look at that degree, we look at it from an esoteric perspective. What esoteric parable is the prophet introducing us to? And by what day, but in which way is it relates to this Moorish American movement or this Moorish American paradigm? And then the ultimate question is, how is it that I can use it when I close these books, or when I close this book, and when I go out into the cares of the world? Islam? Islam. All right. So again, this is the sacred river on which people can basically be reborn. So let's keep that in mind. Islam? Islam. All right. So again, Jesus attended a feast in Bihar. He had some of his followers and apostles with him. But he also, instead of sitting with those apostles and followers, he sat with the courtesans and the thieves. And they were aggrieved. In other words, they felt some kind of way about that. Right. All right? So, verse 5 says, and they uprooted him. And they're referring to his apostles and his followers of Jesus. They uprooted him. They said, Rabboni, Master of the wise, this day will be an evil day for you. The news will spread that you consort with the courtesans, and men will shun you as they shun an asp. What is an asp? Islam. And Jesus answered them and said, a master never screens himself for the sake of reputation and fame. Islam? These are but worthless baubles of the day. They arise and sink like empty bottles on a stream. They are illusions and that will pass away. Islam? What are baubles? Baubles are trinkets. So what he's saying is that your concerns is but of things of illusion. It has no concern.
That's right.
You know, and he's going to go into why. Why is it that you're concerned about who is it that I consort with? Who is it that I build with? All right, because you're already making claim that I'm Rabboni. I'm the master of masters.
Right.
So why is it that you're questioning my doings? Islam? And so that, and you know, that we can relate to what's going on in today's society. Some of our leaders, and when specifically our prophet Noble Ali or any of the prophets, you know, we look to them as a conduit of our Savior. Right. You know, we look to them as wisdom made manifest, as love made manifest, and we want to hold them to that stakes. But when it is asked for us to do a particular thing, then we want to jump back and say, I don't know, man. You know, can we try it this way? Or, you know, I don't feel like doing it right now. So how is it that we're honoring these masters or honoring those that are sent by way of Allah? And we're not saying that and we're not just going by that these were people that were sent by Allah, that these were angels sent by Allah because of the miracles, because as the sister says, the devil can do such wondrous things. But we can see it by how he moves, how he teaches his people, how he engages with the people. Islam? So in this, there's a lesson for us, because this is an example as we as Moorish Americans should be acting.
That's right.
All right? Because it says that Jesus, we look to Jesus as our Savior, by which we all will be saved and redeemed from sin. And when we talk about redeem, we're talking about attaining a portion of our heritage, attaining a portion of our lost estate, which our sister said. You know, so we go about doing that and demonstrating love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, demonstrating righteousness, that which is right. So again, when we engage with our people, we want to meet them at a level and raise them up. So that's the thing we have to remember. We just don't want to lounge in with the thieves and courtesan or those that may not have everything going with them. We want to build with them, and we want to talk with them and show them that there's a way out of the particular situation that they're in. Islam? So let's go on. He says these are worthless baubles. So he says, why y'all tripping? Why y'all stressing? Islam? These are the indices to what the thoughtless think. They are the noise that people make, and shallow men judge merit by the noise. Now, isn't it said in this sacred text that Allah doesn't live in the noise of tongues? All right. So the prophet tells us not to, well, the prophet says to us not to just tell our people about their nationality and creed, and divine creed. It says for us to teach it. So we have to be the message that we bring. We say that message, we give that message all the time. We drive that hammer home so it can be a part of every part. You know what I'm saying? Because we are Moorish Americans 24/7. We are unapologetically Moorish Americans. And we look to bring the Asiatic nation or the Asiatic race in together to participate in this Moorish Divine and National movement. Because it's not only just our movement, it's their movement as well. Islam? For the uplifting of fallen humanity. Islam? All right. So goes on 10. It says, Allah and all master men judge men by what they are and they judge men by what they are and not by which they seem to be, not by their reputation and their fame. Islam? These courtesans and thieves are children of my Father Allah. Their soul or their souls are just as precious as in his eyes or as his sight, or of the Brahmic priest, of yours the Brahmic priest. And they are working out the same life sums that you have solved, you men who look to them with scorn. Islam? So that's another thing that we don't want to do. And I want to, just for a moment, when we had those mass shootings with our Asiatic brothers and sisters, the Philando Castilles and the Mike Browns and so on and so forth, and I'll be one to say that there were some Moorish Americans that were making the claim that the reason that these brothers and these sisters were being murdered is because they didn't have a nationality. And we had a stroke of reality when our own brother, Mansour Bey, may Allah be pleased with him, peace and blessings be upon him, he was murdered by a police officer. So that brought things in perspective. So we can no longer give the message that because they had a nationality or because they didn't have a nationality, this is why they were being murdered. This is why they were being slaughtered. Because the issue is, again, we have a nationality, but are we working with it as a collective? Are we coming together with those that wish to be a part of every part, want to learn about this Moorish divine and national movement, and are we teaching those things, again, that making us better citizens? All right?
That's right.
This is something that we need to think about.
That's right.
Islam?
Islam.
And he said that they're working out the same life sums that we are. So just because we're working to be a Moorish American doesn't mean that we get a get out of free jail card.
Right.
You know, our sins are not stripped away from us. Our prophet said that man is truth and falsehood strangely mixed, and as long as we're on this plane of manifest, as long as we're on Asia, us being Asiatics, we are going to endure the same trials and tribulations that man does as well. Even Jesus said, by many times am I bound to this carnal plane, Islam. So if Jesus is bound to this carnal plane, then what makes us any different from our Savior, Islam?
No.
Or from justice?
That's right.
Islam?
No.
And some of them, we're on 13, and some of them have solved much harder sums than you have solved, you men who look to them with scorn. 14. Yes, they are sinners, and they confess their guilt while you are guilty, but are shrewd enough to have a polished coat to cover up your guilt. Islam?
Islam.
Suppose you men who scorn the courtesan, these drunkards, these thieves, who know that you are pure in heart and life, that you are better far than they, stand forth that men may know just who you are. So he says, stand in front of these and let them know that you are pure. Let them know that you are that shining example. Instead of going into your little circles, your little sewing circles, and whispering. In the Quran of Mecca, it talks about the whisperers, waswas. You know, those who blow on knots, and those who whisper into the ears of men.
That's right.
Deceitful things, the jinn, if you will.
That's right.
All right. We don't want to be those people. We don't be the ones that scurry all in our conversation and talk about this person and that person. If anything, we should be talking about if we have an issue, if there is an issue, how is it that we can alleviate that problem? Islam? 16. The sin lies in the wish, in the desire, not in the act. So from that very conception and that very thought, there's the sin. Islam. You covet other people's wealth. You look at charming forms, and deep within your hearts, you lust for them. Deceit you practice every day and wish for gold, for honor and for fame, just for your selfish selves. And so let me add on to this. He's not only talking about his apostles and his followers, but he's also talking about the statesmen and the governors and those that have a form of power. All right? The prophet calls them I can't think of the word. They're deceitful, if anything. The word will come to me later on, inshallah. But basically, he's saying that these are the deceitful ones that are hypocrites. And the Quran of Mecca also talks about the hypocrites, those sneaky culprits, connivers of the law. That's the word I'm looking for. Islam. It was going to come to me. The man who covets is a thief, and she who lusts is a courtesan. You who are none of these, speak out. Therefore, those who are without sin, cast the first stone.
Right.
Islam? And nobody spoke. The accusers held their peace. And Jesus said, the proof this day is all against those who have accused. The pure in heart do not accuse. The vile in heart, who want to cover up their guilt with holy smoke and piety, are ever loathing, drunkard, thief, and courtesans. All right? So there's more than one definition of a thief, and there's more than one definition of a courtesan. So those of us who scorn for that direct act knows that our prophet gives a definition in general. So you don't have to do it verbatim to be called to be accused of such. Islam? 23. This loathing is a scorn. This loathing and this scorn is mockery. For if the tinsel coat of reputation should be torn away, the loud professor will be found to revel in his lust, deceit in many forms of his secret sin. Islam? So sooner or later it's going to come. What's going to be held in the darkness will be revealing itself in the light. Islam? The man who spends time pulling other people's weeds have no time to pull his own. That sound familiar? Who knows somebody who's like that? You don't have to raise your hand. You keep it to yourself. Islam? And all the choicest flowers of life will soon be choked and die, and nothing will remain but darnel thistles and burrs. In other words, weeds. And how many of us know that weeds have a tendency to grow? They grow quite well, but they have a tendency to consume that beautiful flower, to consume that which gives beauty to a thing. Islam? To the land. Islam? 25, and Jesus spoke a parable. He said, behold, a farmer had great fields of ripened grain. And when he looked and saw the blades of many stalks of wheat were bent and broken down. And when he sent his reapers forth, he said, we will not save the stalks of wheat that have broken blades. Go forth and cut and burn the stalks with broken blades. After many days he went to measure up this grain, but not a kernel could be found. Oh, not a kernel he found. And keep in mind, I want you to write this word down, reapers. I know that may seem like a trivial term, but reapers, you reap what you sow. We talk about justice. There's many forms, there are many levels to what we call justice, based on the context. But a good example of one example of justice is you reap what you sow. You can see that in our chapter in the Moorish Holy Quran, chapter of justice. Islam. Again. So after many days, we're on 28. No. Yeah. 28. And after many days, he went to measure up his grain, but not a kernel could he find. And then he called the harvesters and said to them, where is my grain? They answered him and said, we did according to your word. We gathered up and burned the stalks with broken blades. And not a stalk was left to carry to the barn. So what happens if we, as Moorish Americans, we decide to only pursue a particular type of people? What happens if we shun those that we think are downtrodden, that we think are not capable to provide anything to this movement? We're not uplifting fallen humanity. And surprisingly enough, there are more people out there that are considered quote unquote broken blades than that you will find these straight stalks, these clean and unbroken stalks. You know what I'm saying? Because we ourselves are broken blades to some degree. You know, let's face that. You know, let's deal with that if we will. You know, so again, when we look at our brother or sister, we should be seeing ourselves. So when I look at you, brother, I should be seeing myself. That's right. All right. So if I'm looking to you, if I see a brother out there on the streets that's considered quote unquote broken, that means I'm broken as well. So now the question is, how is it that I fix us, or that we fix us? Islam. I'm almost done. And Jesus said, if Allah saves only those who have broken blades, who have been perfected in His sight, who will be saved? And the accusers hung their heads in shame, and Jesus went His way. Islam? Truly Allah speaks through His holy and divine prophet, noble Rashid family. My message is very simple. Extend your hand. And don't forget where you come from. Because at one point before you were enlightened, before you came into the Moorish Science Temple of America and accepted and proclaimed your nationality, you was once at that point, to a certain degree. You know, you can tell, you know, when you've learned, when you've continued to study and learn the degrees of our prophet, how you act and you walk differently. But don't get puffed up in thine own seat. Islam? All right? We don't want to be the ones that go down to the deepest depth and bring up the pebbles and think of them as shiny pearls. Islam, we want to assure that the same attention and the same humility and love that we receive coming into the Moorish Science Temple of America, that we reflect it. All right, and as they said, business or reflection is the business of man. All right,